Homesteading with kids can be a little overwhelming at first, but I have a few tips and tricks that will help you get started with kids. Whether you're planning on having kids later or whether you already have kids and you've just moved onto a new property. My first tip is to start them young. Starting your kids young, helping around the homestead is no different than starting them young on household chores. Giving them a task to make them feel useful and helpful gives them a sense of belonging. Now, some of us already have kids when we moved on to our homestead property. So if you're like us, you started with kids already used to in-town and city life, then had to adjust them to country and homesteading life. I have learned since how and what to have them do, and something I found helpful was to start them slow, adding one chore at a time with a good month of practice before adding another one, and doing that chore with them for the first few days or week if they need it. The times will vary based on your child's age, maturity, skill level, and what the chore is. Something I really struggle with and have to mentally prepare myself for is the patience required to train my kids to do chores. It's so much easier and faster to just do the thing myself. But then your kids will not learn that skill. So something I've been learning is to also let go of my perfectionism that wants to do the thing the quote right way. I stop and ask myself, is the chore done? If they've completed the chore, it doesn't matter if it's done to your standards, just that it is done. You can absolutely train them to improve over time, just don't make them do it over and over again until they get it, quote, right. You'll lose your child's want to help you and any and all desire to please you if you are too rigid. There is a saying in the homesteading world you may have already heard someone say, good enough is perfect. If it does the job, the task is complete, then it's good enough and thus perfect. As your children get old enough to take charge of something, give them ownership on it. Obviously, with animals, you won't be putting a small child in charge alone. You'll need a capable, seasoned, older child to be right there with them. Just like you wouldn't put your small child in charge of cooking raw meat for dinner without you or a capable older child to supervise. What you can give them is a section of the garden for them to plant whatever they want. They will be responsible for the care and harvest of whatever they planted. If they forget to water, then they will learn a valuable lesson in responsibility over something that will die if you neglect it. You will lose some plants, but your child is learning in a safe environment with you there to teach, encourage, and love. Learning out in the world means they will learn responsibility in ways that aren't forgiving, like losing a job because you were late to work or didn't even show up. My last tip is to nurture their passions. As your child grows, you'll see what they really like, and they will also tell you. But I listen more and watch them in their natural skills. My oldest was taking a fascination with animals and specifically birds. So his first animal chore was feeding and watering the chickens. He also got a bird identifier book for Christmas or his birthday not long after. My youngest son really likes making things out of his Legos that do some sort of task. I think he might just be an engineer someday. But he also has a natural ability in music, specifically keeping the beat. He just started beatboxing one day, and the next birthday or Christmas, he was gifted some drumsticks and a practice pad and a beginner drumming book. My daughter is 2 right now, and the most important thing to her is to be helpful. She doesn't care what you're doing, just as long as you let her help you. It's sometimes hard to figure out what a 2-year-old can help with, but with a little thought, you'll find something she or he can carry for you or go grab out of the barn. Maybe you scoop out the feed and let your toddler pour it into the feeder. Or have them carry an empty bucket you'll need to put weeds in from the garden. Let them help you carry the full bucket of weeds to the chicken run or treat for the chickens. Once you start thinking of things, it will get easier to think of more. I think the hardest part for me has been giving up doing things so that my kids can learn. But it is so important to learn all these skills that will greatly improve their life when they go off on their own. And who knows, maybe one or two of them will decide to live this lifestyle on their own property or come back home and carry on your legacy.
Oh, that is delicious. That's very good.
Here, Mom, you take one. It's the biggest one I found.
I hope this was helpful and encouraging. That's all for today. We'll see you guys on the next one. Bye-bye.